Alright, so today I'm listening to Triadic Memories by Morton Feldman. And low-key, I thought this piece was 3 hours long for some reason, but it's actually just an hour long, so um, kind of similar to the last Feldman piece we looked at, For Bonita Marcus, which was an hour long from the 80s, like his late period. This, I think, is a little bit older. I have it listed as 1981, so yeah, not really much older. 4 years before. Um, so yeah, typical Feldman stuff at the beginning here. We have half pedaling and very quiet dynamic, and this sort of sparse texture where things are subtly shifting and it's not quite repetitive. Um, One thing I notice here is that it also is in 1 meter, right? So he's not doing the shifting meter stuff right away. It's a little bit more square. He is shifting like the subdivisions of the measure a lot in the left hand. So, and then we get into the serious repeat stuff later. This is definitely one of his more famous pieces. So maybe that is just because the title is so good, or maybe there is something about it that is very iconic. I don't really remember how it sounds so much. I just remember really enjoying the last time I listened to it. It's jointly dedicated to Roger Woodward and Aki Takahashi. Roger Woodward is an Australian pianist, composer, and conductor, human rights activist, leading advocate of contemporary music, powerful virtuoso who played the works of Boyd Feldman, Gelhar, Masson, Takamitsu, Radulescu, Xenakis, Boulez, Stockhausen, Brouwer, Lutyens, Cage. Uh, I don't recognize all the other names here, but uh, he also championed a lot of work by early Soviet composers who were experimental. So Scriabin's the big name, but also Mosolov and Roslovets and Vishnegradsky, Stanshinsky, Ubakov. I think out of those names, Ubakov's the only one that I don't really know. Um, so if you're familiar with any of that piano music, it's probably because of this guy. Um, and then Aki Takahashi is a Japanese pianist specializing in contemporary music. Um, she is famous for releasing recordings of Cage, Feldman, Garland, Lucier, Isang-yun, a number of other Japanese composers, it looks like. I guess Toru Takamitsu would be the big name. And then, of course, like some of the big French names like Boulez, Messiaen, uh, and I guess she premiered it alongside Roger Woodward, but also David Tudor. This is what I'm getting from this anecdote. At the time of this piece's composition, she was artist in residence at the State University of New York at Buffalo. So she would have been within Feldman's New York circle, you know. I guess Feldman was quite established at this point when he wrote this piece. Um, it's 49 pages long. I think I found it for free online at some point, and I'll just put a link to the recording in the video description. Maybe I could find a score video. Um, Regardless, I think it's sort of like a must listen if you're trying to get into Feldman. So I'll stop blabbing and listen to it, and I'll let you know my thoughts on this particular listen. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I guess I went into this listening session um, not expecting much from it, like not. I was kind of hoping that For Bonita Marcus would be the better piece in my mind after listening to this, but I don't know. I think this is like it's not really relevant comparing the two pieces because they just do something completely different. This piece is way more has way more repetition in it, and it's way more notey and active, whereas for Bonita Marcus, it was like the emphasis was more on the silences, which felt more in the foreground, and there was these constantly shifting meters. Um, I think For Bonita Marcus has a better ending. It's a very strong like ending, whereas uh, it kind of this piece kind of gets on a roll, and it's kind of like you're on some sort of deep sea exploration, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper. But this little thing at the end that he brings back is like not very conclusive to me. I feel like it's hard to end something like that. But yeah, I mean, what I was thinking the whole time was like this sort of pitch blackness and like weird colors and shapes and faces emerging from the darkness, and it just made me think of like, deep sea fish and things like that. Probably because it's very dissonant and the like not quite repetitions that happen are very kind of organic and elusive, and it's hard to pin down what the main idea is, but he sits on these ideas for long periods of time, right? It doesn't feel collaged the way that For Bonita Marcus felt. It feels more like, okay, here's one thing, let me milk this for a minute, and then let me do this thing for 30 seconds, and then maybe I'll do this thing for 3 minutes, and the whole like majority of the piece, it's in the same time signature, right? So it's very square for a long time, and he's playing more with like placements of notes within that little box. Um, I found it quite hypnotic. You don't really get into the mixed meter stuff until this 16th note idea, right? So then he completely switches gears. I think that's sort of the biggest juncture in the piece, actually. There's no measure numbers, but when you get this little chromatic 16th note thing, suddenly we get a lot of mixed meter stuff, and then at another point later, yeah, here, this is actually still not so far into the piece. Like we still have 15 minutes after this, but it goes down a dynamic, which I was like, oh, we went from 3 Ps to 5 Ps. Uh, this performer, I believe it's Aki, did a really good job of that too. So it's like, oh, okay, now we're at a whole other layer of like creepiness. So yeah, I thought that was a cool moment. I find a lot of discourse about this piece in particular is like talking about it in comparison to other contemporary works of music. Like it's sort of like a intro to Feldman's music type of piece. Um, but yeah, I feel like it makes more sense to just go through all of Feldman's stuff and look at him as a whole thing. I don't see the point in just listening to this and that's it. Um, because his pieces are so different, like so diverse. Um, Tomorrow, this will be Sunday, we're listening to Anamorphosi by Salvatore Sciarrino. This piece is a lot of fun. If you're not familiar with it, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, it's actually quite funny and it's short, so I hope that you'll enjoy that with me. And then we got some big pieces after that, like some Lockenman and Xenakis. So that'll round off our exploration of the 1980s.